Hello folks, I hope that you're having just a great day today. Today I got something a little outside the box for you. It's David Gerald and Larry Niven's The Flying Sorcerers that we're going to be reviewing for you today. This book was written in the early 70s. It's a weird book. It comes before, I think, Larry Niven hit his stride as a writer or as a co-writer. So you'll get him a little earlier on in his writing career. He's a guy who won a Hugo with Ringworld in 71. He also has won a number of other sort of works that are out there too. He has a number of big works with himself, particularly him and Jerry Pournelle, Lucifer's Hammer, and The Moat in God's Eye, that were also in the 70s too. This is a guy who dominated 1970s science fiction, and to a lesser degree the 80s too, although really 70s. Science fiction was something that he owned. And anyway, in David Gerald and him in this book, The Flying Sorcerers, it's basically, there is going to be this person who's an inner space explorer, and he's going to arrive on this planet, and this planet is going to be one where magic still happens, but he dismisses it as just like science in action, but magic appears to be happening on this planet, which you'll see it actually happen, and basically what's going to happen is that you're going to be seeing it from the point of view of a village elder who already has a sorcerer in his town, and each town only has one sorcerer, and the sorcerers will duel if they want to become the town's sorcerer, if you will, and only one of them will survive. And then this sorcerer from above is how he's seen by the town, but he doesn't follow the conventions of sorcerers or the townspeople that live on this planet. Nor does he seem to be a magician who is like following the sort of modus operandi of magicians. But you see that the magician's works actually will happen over the course of the novel. They have powerful works to them and so forth, thus making this a true meeting of fantasy and science fiction. What happens when an intergalactic spacefarer lands on a planet that's magic, where magic happens? That's basically the central crux. And then the central conflict is going to be these two sorcerers. They're going to fight multiple times over the course of the novel. And then eventually they're going to put aside their conflict in order to help to get our spaceman home. And then that's basically the story. They're going to spend about half the novel trying to work to getting our spaceman home, and the first half of the novel fighting all the time. And they're going to have multiple flights, multiple curses, multiple battles, multiple things are going to happen, and you're going to have this science meeting fantasy view thereof. And that's the central conflict of the novel and of the story too. So in my review thereof, so it's well written, although it can feel a little obtuse at times. I feel like it moves very, very fast. One chapter will push the plot along a lot, but it can be written, or at least for the first half of the novel. Although the second half of the novel will slow down a lot more, to be more novel-paced, which is weird to see, that sort of a pace difference. And then, I mean, you're going to get to the conflict like within 15 pages, and you're going to get to the first fight within, before you hit page 20. But yet, at the same time, it takes like half the book to build something to get this guy back home, right? It's not, it feels, that's a weird dichotomy to me. So I think the pacing's a little off in it for that reason. The pace at the beginning is like super fast, and then the pace at the end is like, okay, let's take our time. We'll get there. Don't trust me. Little baby steps. We'll get you there. So I find that to be a little weird. I do think that the writing is fine, although it's not Larry Niven's best. I've never read anything else by David Gerrold before. I don't know if this is his only novel or not, so I can't speak to his half of it. But I can say that this is not Larry Niven's finest hour. This is not him. This is not Ringworld. This is not something like that. This is, but he's not bad. I was never bored, but sometimes I'll devour a book in a day or two, and in this case, it took me a week to knock it out. I now just read a few chapters a day, which is fine. It's a fine pace to read it at, but I wasn't so entranced with the writing or the plot to get past the writing. But it was fine. I was never bored. It was entertaining. Is an entertaining premise of science meets fantasy. These two wizards fighting it out. It was certainly an entertaining premise that I enjoyed, but it wasn't, something that grounded me, and I read it in a day or two. Instead, again, it took me time to invest in the story. But there you are, there's the Flying Sorcerers. Have you heard of the Flying Sorcerers? Have you ever read it? What did you think about it? I'm happy to engage you with it in the comments below. Have you read the other things by David Gerald or Larry Niven that you thought might be analogous to this, or other works that are sort of analogous to this? Maybe Lawrence White Evans' The Cyborg and the Sorcerer, or something like that you've read. Or The Wizard and the War Machine, that have sort of similar sort of dual premises, or of these two worlds that are combining in a number of ways. But this is about as science fantasy as you can get, so it's clearly within the sort of realm of science fantasy. If you enjoyed this review, please feel encouraged to hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be so many more of these classics to follow in fantasy, science fiction, and horror. And finally, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day and watching my video and investing your time in me. We all have so many things happening, and we're pulled in so many different directions, right? So the fact that you invested this time in me is very humbling, and I really do appreciate that. So thanks again, and have a great day.